Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today, phase 2 of the cedar flower bed. This thing's massive. It's going to be 8 foot long, stand 36 inches tall, and be 30 inches wide. It's made out of cedar 2x4s and cedar pickets. Now, in my last video, phase 1, I'll leave a link down in the description box below, you saw me prep the boards. I ripped down the cedar pickets to 1.5 inches wide. I planed both sides of it, really make it smooth, really bring out that grain, makes it look a ton better, guys. And then I took the cedar 2x4s, I ripped them down to 1.5 inches as well, and I planed all 4 sides of them. Now you didn't get to see that in the last video because I did so many cedar pickets. I figured you got the gist of it, so I just went ahead and did them off camera. Now, I got my cedar 2x4 right behind me. They're 1.5 inches square after I ripped them down. I got my cedar picket strips right on the shelf of my mobile workbench here. And everything's ready, set up, ready to build. Now today, we're gonna build the frame, the skeleton, or the structure of the flower bed itself. 99% of your woodworking projects will have a frame of some type. So, that's what we're gonna build today. I'm going to show you how to do that. Alright, we're moved over to the miter saw. I got my workbench right over here, ready to catch the boards. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, turn on notifications. I appreciate it. So first things first, we got to cut the legs. Now I have built one of these before, and I always write down the cut list, the angles, everything, so if I ever build another one, it makes it more streamlined. However, I'm going to teach you how I designed this from scratch, just winging it. So, first things first, I know that I want my legs at an 8-degree angle. So I'm going to set my miter saw to 8 degrees. And then I'm going to cut this down to 8 degrees first. Alright, so we got the board set up here. We're going to do an 8-degree angle, and we just want it right at the end. We just want to shave off the end to get that 8-degree angle. Alright, so we cut the 8-degree angle. Now because it's at an angle, you can't just cut it 36 inches long or it'll be short because of the angle. So rather than doing a whole bunch of math, I'm going to show you how I figured out the height that I need. So I put it flush with the end right here at an angle, and then I'll take a tape measure and measure up from the square part 36 inches. Take my pencil and then mark it. So now I know that that is where I need to cut to make this 36 inches tall. Alright, so we're back at the miter saw. We got our one angle. We have our mark that will make it 36 inches tall with the angle. Now, to cut this the right direction, you want this angle and this angle to be parallel to each other, going the same way. So, since that one is like going this way, I already have my miter saw cut to go this way. That's wrong. To fix that, flip the board over and that will get you that, but you still want that point on this side. My mark's hidden now, so I'm going to take a speed square, mark it right where I need it, and I'll do one more. Now, it's on the right side, but I still need the blade to just nick this side of it. So, what you can do with the speed square, if you don't have an angle finder, the speed square can do that for you. What you do is you put the corner right at it, and then over here you have all these. So you use that pivot point and you go 5, 6, 7, 8. Hold that right there. and then there is my 8-degree angle. So now, move it over to the saw. And now, the two angles are parallel to each other. Let's go back over to the table and check it. All right, so I checked it, we're good. So now, rather than doing that whole process over and over and over again, we need 4 legs. They're all gonna be identical. So what I like to do, grab 2 new boards, set them off to the side, cut that first angle, put your piece on, match up the angle. Make sure all 3 are nice and smooth and flush. Slide it down. Then, what I like to do, that's too far, so we're gonna go down a little bit and bump it right up against the blade. Not tight, just barely. Double check that you're flush on all of them. They are. Hold it tight. And make your cut. Now you have 3 legs, all the same size. You do that to get 1 more leg, and then you're good. All right, I got all 4 of my legs cut. They're all identical. Now we need to figure out where the center brace goes. Since it's an 8-foot long flower bed and this is an 8-foot long table, it makes it simple for me. I just put the edge of that right on the edge, right on the edge. I make it flush with here so the angle is right. And then I measure from that point to figure out the center. So we got them clamped down so they don't move while we're measuring. We'll push that down. And I'm at 79 3/4. So, half of that, half of 80 would be 40. So we're gonna go 40. So we were at 79 3/4. So we were a quarter less. So half of a quarter is 1/8. So that would make it 39 7/8. So mark it right here so I know. So now 39 7/8 from there. 39 7/8 from there. So now that I know my exact center point, I need to know where the board is going to go. So I'm going to grab, I know that these are 1.5 inch wide. So what's half of 1.5 is 3/4. So I'm going to just start at the center point, go 3/4 over, 3/4 over, and now that is where my board is going to go. And since we know it's going to be 36 inches tall, these are going to be straight cut, 36 inches tall. Makes it really simple. I'm going to go cut those. I'll be right back with you. All right. I got my 2 pieces cut. Now I got it on my marks, dead center of the 2. Now we gotta make it square. So put a speed square up to it. Make sure it's square. Check the other side. That looks good. Clamp it down really tight. So now we got it centered within. So we need to figure out the distance from that edge to that edge, from this edge to that edge. So, should be the same, but always double check. So, don't push too hard or you'll push it out square. And I got 45 3/4. We're gonna go on this side. Do the same thing. Don't push too hard on there and move it. And I got 45 3/4. So now we're gonna build the piece to go there. So since these are at an angle, we know the top side is longer by a little bit than the bottom side. So we're gonna go 45 3/4 to the top. Let's go cut those pieces. All right, so I got 2 new boards here. We need to cut that 8-degree angle. Since we know the legs are 8 degrees, that means everything else will be 8 degrees too that needs an angle. So, flush smooth against there. Make sure your miter saw is at 8 degrees. Push it up flat against the fence. And we're gonna cut our 8-degree angle. Wait till the blade to stop, grab your pieces out of the way. So we got that 8-degree angle. Now, the next one, since the center piece is straight, the next one's gonna be a straight cut. So put your saw back at 0. And then we said 45 3/4. Double check your measurement before you cut it. And then scoot this over. Measure from the long end, 45 3/4. Whoops. Now, before I cut that, wood's expensive, I don't want to mess it up, I'm going to check. Since I'm right here, I'll throw that over there, 45 3/4. So I double checked it, I know we're good. We're gonna move this at a little bit of an angle because it's hitting my table saw, that's why. Put that right on the mark. Double check your flush. It's a little bit off, so we're gonna adjust that. All right, we're flush. Check it again. We're good here. Make our cut. So now, let's go back over there and see if it fits. All right, so I moved back over to the table. I put my pieces on, and you can see they fit good. And that's why always double check your measurements before you cut. So now, before we assemble this part, we're going to get the next part, which is the next piece. Now this is a raised flower bed, so the bottom piece isn't going to be right here. It's going to be 12 inches below the top. So, grab our tape measure. Pencil. We're going to measure 12 inches below the top. So there's that. Do one on this side. Okay. Now that we got those, we need to figure out our measurement from here to here. So, best way to do that, just put it right there. And I got 44 3/16. Whoops. 44 3/16. So, now that I got those, I'm going to cut that and I'll be right back with you. Alright, so I cut those pieces, 44 3/16. I fit them in here. They fit good, they fit snug just like they should. So now we can look at it and see how it's coming together. This is one side of the flower bed. And since it's 12 inches deep, let's check that. To measure that, you measure from the top here down, you got 12 inches. So you're good. Now you can see what one side will look like. And how we're gonna fasten it is we're gonna use pocket hole screws. So we're gonna move this over to the pocket hole jig, drill our holes, and I'll show you how to do that. And basically they're gonna attach to the legs from the inside so the screws are hidden. So we're gonna do 2 here, 2 here, 2 up there, 2 up there, and same on the edges. That way they're all fastened to the leg. And we're also gonna use just a bit of glue to keep it snug, keep it tight, makes it strong. So let me shift over to the pocket hole jig. All right, I shifted over to the pocket hole jig. This is a Craig jig 720 Pro. It just has a few extra attachments, but you can get the basic one or even the little handheld ones that you clamp down. This works for me, I like it. Got a little table set up. I got a vacuum attached to it. So now what you want to do is you grab your drill bit, which fastens to the back. Now we are setting up on 1.5 inch piece. So this has a setting on it, a stop block. So what you do is you grab the Allen head off the back, you loosen it up, and you move it to 1.5 inches. Tighten it up. Then, I don't know if you can see that, but inside the circle says 1.5 inches. Then you chuck it up into your drill. Tighten that up. Now you got that set up. Now I picked these up straight off the table and brought them over like this. That way I know where the screw holes are gonna go, because I don't want to accidentally do the top or bottom and then it not work out for me. So we're gonna take one, slide it in here. Now when it's tilted to the left, because it's at an angle, you want to go about 1/8 of an inch in from the edge. And then clamp that down. Then all you do, turn on your vacuum. Now, as you can see, I got 2 there and 2 here. That's one piece down, and all you do, clamp it in, you drill till it hits a stop, and you're done. So now, set that piece off to the side. I'm going to do the rest of these real quick. We're back at the table, got my pocket holes drilled, set back up, got it laid out. Now we're ready to assemble it. We're going to use a little bit of glue. I use Titebond 3, it's waterproof and a little bit stronger than Titebond 2 in the original Titebond. So what we're going to use is pocket hole screws, which just basically has that flat end that holds it down nice and tight. And we're going to use this. It's just a Craftsman battery powered screwdriver. It's very low torque, low power, and it won't strip it out, split the wood. It's perfect for it. Now you can use it in impact, just be careful because it could split the wood if you get too crazy with it. So I'm gonna glue up a piece, show you how it's done. put some glue on the end. Now keep in mind, glue soaks into the end grain better than it does on a face or edge of a board. So you put a little extra on. Start your screws down the hole. Grab this, make it flush with the top. And push, screw it down. Okay, well, you can see it bogged down at the end. So now we're gonna twist that a little bit, get it flush. Do this one. All right, let's do this other side. Got a little glue squeeze out. That's a good thing. That means you used enough. So I have this brush that I like to use. Then I just scrape it off. Scrape it off. And we'll sand that down later to get it nice and smooth. And we're good. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest. I'll get back with you. We got it put together. We got it screwed and glued. Let's unclamp it. See what it looks like. Not bad. Now I do notice there's a little bit of wobble in it. It's suggesting that this middle leg is higher than nose. But before you notch this off, like, oh, it's too long, notch it off, check it first. It could be the floor is uneven, my table's uneven, or it could be, as I was assembling it, maybe the board's twisted a little bit and it's lifting that side up. So, take a measuring tape. Measure from bottom up. We got 36 inches. Now we'll go over here, push it down on the ground. Same thing. We got 36 inches. Check this side. "36 inches. So, we are correct. And what it is, either my table is slightly warped or the board's warped as I was gluing and putting it together. But that's okay. As you assemble it and get the rest of the frame, it's all gonna come together and make its final form. So this is what it looks like. We got one side done. I'm gonna go ahead and build the other side. I'll be right back with you. So, got our two pieces built. Our two long ends, and they look good. They match up, same height, same width. They look really good. So now that we got the length, we're gonna work on the width next. But before I like to do the width part of it, I like to sand these while they're nice and easy to move and lay on the table and all that. Once you assemble the width, it'll be a little bit harder. Still doable, but try to think of it as easy as you can. Do it while it's simple to get to and you can stand up and not bend over and hurt your back. So what I'm going to do now is sand the face. Get it nice and smooth. In case there's a little lip, sand it down so it's nice and smooth. Then I'm going to go to the top and do the top because the end grain of the legs, they're a little rough. So we'll sand those down smooth, get them nice and flush across the top. Right there, got a little glue squeeze out. We'll sand that down. And then once I got the face and the tops done, then we're good to assemble the width of it. So what I like to do is take my orbit sander, and I have 40 grit sandpaper in it right now. And the way sandpaper works is the lower the number, the more aggressive the sandpaper is. So 40 grit is really rough. It's gonna remove wood as you sand. If you get all the way up to like 220, 320, then it's just gonna kind of smooth it out, but not really remove any wood, if that makes sense. It just really fine smooths it. So I like to start with 40, get a quick run over, get the glue squeeze out, get any rough end grain here, and then I'll go back over it with 120, 220 and get it nice and smooth. So with an orbit sander, you just turn it on, plug it in. And you just do light pressure, let the sander do the work, especially because I got 40 grit in there. It won't take much. And right there, just a few passes is already making that a little bit better. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the tops and the face of this, and then we'll start working on the width. And there is a little bit of angle cutting on some of the width pieces. The one that won't have any angle cutting on it, and the simplest, will be this middle piece right here. Remember, we're not doing the top, just the middle down here. On the edges, we'll do middle and top. So, like I said, you're gonna want to figure out the width that you want. This is gonna be 30 inches, but because I sanded it, it may come out to a little less than 1.5 inches like we started with, because I used 40 grit and it actually removes wood. So what I'm gonna do, easiest way, squeeze them together, both of them. Take your tape measure and measure where the board's gonna go. And in this case, it actually removed about 1/8 of an inch. So I got 2 7/8. So our boards need to be 27 1/8. And that will make this 30 inches wide. So double check your measurement again, make sure. Yep. So now we'll go over to the chop saw, the miter saw, and we will cut that down. Be right back. So we're set up. Got my middle piece here. So we're gonna screw this together. And instead of pocket holes, I'm gonna use these trim head screws that have a really fine head on them, and they'll actually sink into the wood a little bit. And they won't be super visible to the customer. They're a gold color, kind of matches the brown. It won't be super obvious unless you're looking for it. The reason I'm not using pocket holes is because I already have pocket holes on each side of these going into it. So if I use another pocket hole on this one, the odds of me hitting those are pretty high. Since I know that they're separated a little bit, I'm gonna put my 2 screws right in the middle, go right in between them, and straight into this board. Since we know this is about 1.5 inches wide, we're going to use 2 1/4 inch screws. So they'll go in there a good amount. But we're also gonna use wood glue. And the reason why I use wood glue is because on every joint, screws can back out over time, over moving it, dragging it, weather, screws can back out. The Type Bond 3 that I use is waterproof, so it is not going to be messed with by the weather. And wood glue, once it sets, it's actually stronger than the board itself. So if I were to take these 2 screws out, hit it with a hammer, the board would break before my glue seal would break. So that's why I do both. Holds it nice and tight, keeps the screws in there. So let's get to it. Now this is better with a second person. If you don't have one, I like to set the other one up over there, keep it apart. So what I'm gonna do, open this up, put some glue on there. And remember, glue will soak into the end grain faster than it would a face. So I just kind of tap it in there, let it soak in. And another thing is I've already started my screws here. That way I'm not fumbling with the screw while trying to hold this. So We're going to come back at an angle a little bit. We're going to put that where it needs to be. That looks about right. Maybe a little bit lower. Okay. And take our screws. Screw that in. We got that nice and tight, flush with that. Now we can move on to the other side. Now you got part of the width done. And so now these are naturally going to hold apart, makes it a lot easier. It's just this first board that takes a little time, a little finesse, a little bit of practice. You'll get it though. So I went ahead and cut all 4 pieces for the top and middle of this side, top and middle of that side. Now these ones aren't just a square piece. You can't just butt them up and screw them down because these are at an angle towards the inside. So if you try to do it flush with that, you can see it has a lip here. And if you try to do it flush with that, same thing, you have a lip here. So what I like to do is hold that up. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're going to adjust your table saw. And then just make a little mark. So now you have that line, and you're going to adjust your table saw to 8 degrees to match this angle, and you're going to rip that down. That way when you do put it on, it'll be flush with this and flush with the top. Let's jump over a table saw. I'll show you how to do that. Here we are at the table saw. So we got our mark here, and what we want to do is raise the blade higher than the board like before, right there. Then we're going to adjust this to 8 degrees. So that's 5, 6, 7, 8. Lock it down. And now, since we're not shaving anything off the top, and we know that this is 1.5 inches, we're going to want to measure from the top edge, the inside edge of the blade, over to the fence, 1.5 inches. So we'll slide that over. And then when the top edge inside is at 1.5 inches, we'll lock it down. And now, as you can see, it goes in there but stops because it's at an angle. So it's going to shave down just what I need. And that is how you set up your table saw to rip these through. And you're going to rip them through just like you did before. The only difference is the table saw is at an angle. So I'm going to go ahead and rip these 4 boards, and I'll be back with you over at the flower bed. Alright, so I'm back over here. I got my pieces ripped down. Started my screws already. So I got some clamps to assist us. Since we got the middle piece already on, the outside piece is now kind of wide, but that's okay. We're going to suck it in, and we're going to have the clamps hold the board in place for us. So put a little glue on each side. And hold that there. Slowly bring in the clamp. And what we'll do is this side first. There's one. We're going to adjust that up a little bit. And put them in the rest of the way. Alright, so you see how it's coming together. We got the width of it, we got the length of it, we got the height of it. So now we're almost done with the skeleton of this, with the framing of it. The only thing left is a board from the middle here to the middle on the outside on both of these gaps. And that's just going to be extra support for all the flooring. They're going to put a lot of soil in this, water in it, so we need it stout. So we're going to put one more brace across there. And then once we put all of our slats across there, it will make it really strong. So we got to put a board from here to here on both sides. So let me go grab my tape measure. Got my tape measure. We're going to go from the inside there to the inside here. And I'm looking at 43 and 15/16. We go over here, do the same thing. Up there. And we do 43 and 15/16. So we got our lengths, 43 and 15/16. That means this is centered. So now we gotta cut those and put them on across. Now on those ends, because it's at an angle, we will have to cut it at that 8-degree angle. This side will be flat. That way everything goes together. Or otherwise you'll have a huge gap on the top and nothing on the bottom. But we measured the long end, so we need the long end to be 43 and 15/16. So I'm gonna go cut those. Got my boards cut. This side has the 8-degree angle, that side's square. And I put my pocket holes in. These will take pocket holes, and what I did is offset the pocket holes a little bit towards the middle so the screws don't run into each other. If not, we'll scoot the board over just a little bit. But then you measure from inside to inside, find the middle, and find the width. So I found the middle, and then since the board's 1.5 inches wide, I measured over 3/4 from each side, made my marks all the way down. So now I'm ready to assemble this. So I got my marks over there I could see. Then I got these. So it's a nice snug fit, just like we want. Then make that nice and flush. Then I got this clamp here that will hold it flush. Taking my pocket hole screws, and that's how it's going to go. And then I'll screw these in, but as always, try to get some glue in there. So we'll loosen that, take our glue, clamp off, nice and smooth. And now that's one side. Now we're going to move over to the other side. Screws didn't hit each other, so offsetting them worked. Nice and smooth, all sides. And there we have it. We have our final piece. So there you have it. That's the end of phase 2 which is assembling the frame, the skeleton of your project. We started off with the 8-foot long sides. We used pocket holes to put it all together. Once we had the two 8-foot long sides done, we sanded them down, got them nice and smooth. Then we worked on the width of them. We cut these pieces, ripped them down at the angle we needed to, so they're nice and flush on the top and on the face. Then after we had the width of it correct, then we moved on to the middle structure for the floor. Since it's gonna have a lot of soil and a lot of water in it, it's gonna be heavy, we need that support there. And you can see how it looks, you can see how it comes together, and it's great. It's sturdy, it is wobbling, but that's because the concrete's uneven in here. I measured it, I showed you how to measure that during this video. So phase 3 will be moving on to the slats, putting all the slats in here on all the faces. We're going to put the floor in, we're going to do any trim work that we need to be done, and those will all be put together with nails, staples, and some glue. And then that'll finish up the rough end of the entire project. Then phase 4 will be treating it. I like to use a special treatment on cedar. Customers love it, I love it. It's easy to mix, easy to apply. And there you have it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss phase 3 and 4. So see you in the next video.